Bedtime Myths and Mysteries, where legends never sleep.
Welcome to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries. Tonight we turn not to ghosts, but to the making of one. The man who would come to embody winter itself, Ebenezer Scrooge. His story did not begin in greed, but in silence, the kind that grows in rooms where laughter used to live. In the winter of 1781, snow drifted over the rooftops of Camden Town. Behind a narrow row of brick houses, a single window glowed faintly with the warmth of a dying fire. Inside, a child sat alone at a small desk, his ink frozen in the bottle, his fingers red with cold. This was Ebenezer, age 8, small, solemn, and painfully precise, already clutching a quill as though it might hold the world together. He had been left there by his father, Silas Scrooge, a failed merchant and a man whom sorrow had hardened. Ebenezer's mother had died giving birth to him, and the father never forgave the son for that loss. He sent the boy away to a strict boarding school, one that boasted piety and discipline, but forgot compassion. The masters called it a preparation for life. The boys called it the waiting room for ghosts. Each Christmas, Ebenezer watched the other children leave, one by one, until the dormitory lay hollow and echoing. The frost crept in through the window panes, filling the silence with a white hum. He would press his small hand to the glass, watching distant carriages carrying laughter and lamplight away into the world beyond. It was there, in that aching stillness, that the first layer of ice formed over his heart. Only one soul ever pierced it, his sister, Fan, a bright-eyed girl with curls like candlelight. Every December she would burst through the school doors, cheeks flushed with winter wind, shouting his name. "Come home, Ebby. Father says you may come home this year." And for those few days, life returned. They would skate on the pond behind the house, she pulling him by the hand, both of them laughing. She would hum Christmas tunes and tell him that the world was kinder than he feared. But the winters grew harder, and Fan's visits fewer. One year, she came pale and coughing, her voice a faint whisper beneath the snow. She told him she was to marry soon, and that he mustn't worry. She'd write, she'd visit. But she didn't. She died 2 winters later, giving birth to her son, Fred. The news reached Ebenezer in a letter sealed with black wax. He was 16, and from that moment, the word family became a sound he could not bear to hear. London received him like a machine receives a cog, with the indifference of smoke and money. He apprenticed under Mr. Fezziwig, a plump, merry man who believed that kindness made business stronger, not weaker. Ebenezer worked late, counted well, and learned the dance of numbers. Fezziwig called him steady as frost, and then came Belle. She was gentle, sharp-witted, and unafraid to laugh at his seriousness. He loved her, though he never said it. But when Silas died, leaving only debt and bitterness, something inside Ebenezer shifted. He swore he would never again be poor, never again depend on the whims of others. He began to see affection as a liability, a kind of luxury that could melt under the wrong sun. Belle noticed the change long before he did. One night, beneath the flicker of a single candle, she told him, "Another idol has replaced me. A golden one." He denied it, of course, but the lie cracked even as he spoke it. When she left, he did not chase her. He turned back to his ledger, where the figures would not weep, would not leave, would not die. Years slid by like snowmelt through the gutters of London. Scrooge rose high, partnered with Jacob Marley, another man who distrusted warmth. Together, they built an empire of caution and calculation. Their counting house was a tomb for laughter, yet it prospered. Scrooge became efficient at solitude. He dismissed the young, mocked the poor, and walled himself in the comfort of precision. When Clark spoke of charity, he thought of weakness. When children sang carols, he heard mockery. When snow fell, he thought of cost, not beauty. But sometimes, on long winter nights, the fire in his office would burn too low, and in that fragile hour between midnight and dawn, he would hear faint echoes, the sound of a sister's laugh, a lover's voice, the scrape of skates on frozen water. And he would tighten his jaw and whisper to himself, "Sentiment is a disease." He told himself he was cured, yet his heart never froze completely. On the Christmas Eve before Marley's death, Scrooge passed a small orphan on the street, begging with numb fingers and a voice too weak to sound pitiful. Something stirred in him, the faintest echo of that boy in the boarding school window, but he crushed it instantly, tossing the smallest coin possible into the snow without meeting the child's eyes. Later, lying awake, he wondered not why he felt nothing, but why it had been so easy not to feel. The next day, Marley died at his desk, quill in hand, face half turned toward the door as though he'd expected someone. Scrooge, standing over the corpse, felt nothing but irritation that death had interrupted the accounts. Still, that night, he left the candle burning longer than usual. The flame trembled, thin and uncertain, like a voice that wanted to speak. And so, the legend begins, not with ghosts, but with a man who had already buried every living thing that could have saved him. The ghosts of Christmas did not come to punish Ebenezer Scrooge. They came because, somewhere deep within the ice, a small ember still glowed, a child's hope, faint and desperate, calling for rescue across decades of snow. The spirits did not create his redemption. They only showed him what was left to save. So the next time you hear a Christmas carol and think of greed turned to grace, remember this. Scrooge was not born cruel. He was a boy left in the dark too long, who mistook the absence of warmth for safety. His greatest crime was not hate, but fear. Fear of losing love again. And perhaps in that, he is less a monster than a mirror. For who among us has not hidden our tenderness behind cold words, fearing it might break us to care again? If you enjoyed this retelling, remember to subscribe to Bedtime Myths and Mysteries, where every night, beneath the hush of the fire, we find the humanity hidden even in ghosts.
In Camden Town, the snow was deep. A child alone could not sleep. Ink froze in bottles, hearts in pain. A boy who'd never smile again. Through frosted glass, he watched the lights of families warm on Christmas nights. He whispered soft where no one knows, I'll never need what love bestows. But in his chest, so faint, so low, there burned an ember in the snow. Oh, Ebenezer, cold and proud, counting coins beneath the cloud. But even ice remembers flame, even grief can speak your name. The ghosts may haunt, the bells may toll, but mercy's candle warms the soul. And in your heart, though none may know, still shines the ember in the snow. His sister's laughter fades away, her voice like wind on Christmas Day. A love once promised left behind, replaced by gold, replaced by time. Each year the carols passed him by. He'd scoff and turn, but never cry, for tears he swore could cost too much, and joy was something time would crush. Yet in the hush of candles' glow, there stirred an ember in the snow. Oh, Ebenezer, cold and proud, counting coins beneath the cloud. But even ice remembers flame, even grief can speak your name. The ghosts may haunt, the bells may toll, but mercy's candle warms the soul. And in your heart, though none may know, still shines the ember in the snow. A whisper through the midnight air, a sister's voice, a lover's prayer, the clink of chains, the toll of years, the echo of forgotten tears. He saw his life through time's own glass and felt the thaw of moments past. And when he woke, the dawn was near, and Christmas broke his heart sincere. Oh, Ebenezer, don't you see? The ghost you feared was meant to free. For even hearts that freeze in pain can feel the warmth of love again. No fortune gained, no walls of stone can silence joy once love is known. And every Christmas candles glow, recalls your ember in the snow. So when the frost returns each year, and laughter fills the winter air, remember him, the man redeemed, who woke to find the world still dream. For even coldest hearts can know there burns an ember in the snow.